Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about a Titan's trial by fire. I'm talking about TSMC and its absolutely pivotal year 2025. This is a story that's got it all: natural disasters, political shockwaves, and, you guessed it, the dramatic return of a legendary rival. This was the year the undisputed king of semiconductors was truly put to the ultimate test.
Okay, so to really get what happened in 2025, you've got to understand just how massive this kingdom was. I mean, heading into that year, TSMC wasn't just a market leader. They practically were the market. Think about it. They controlled almost 2/3 of all advanced chip manufacturing in the world. On paper, they looked absolutely untouchable, right? But as we're about to find out, no fortress is ever truly impenetrable.
And here's the thing, their dominance wasn't just about the silicon. It was built on trust. The company's legendary founder, Morris Chang, he had this really simple philosophy: be a reliable partner, not a competitor. And that focus, that created these incredibly deep, loyal relationships with giants like Apple and AMD. It was the very bedrock of their empire.
But then came 2025, and the very ground beneath that empire started to shake. First, literally from the forces of nature, and then from the tremors of global politics.
So the year kicks off with a literal shockwave. January 21st, a huge earthquake hits southern Taiwan, and boom, it forces a complete production halt at their most critical facilities. Now, for a business where precision is measured in nanometers and uptime is literally everything, well, you can imagine. This was a massive, massive blow. It struck right at the very heart of their operations.
And then came the next shockwave, this one political. The Trump administration returns, and with it, a direct threat to TSMC's entire business model. We're talking about a crippling 100% tariff on chips made in Taiwan. The goal? To force manufacturing back to the US. All of a sudden, TSMC's geopolitical weak spots were on full display for everyone to see.
So, while TSMC is trying to deal with all these external crises, another threat starts to emerge from the shadows. Its oldest, most formidable rival, Intel, was mounting a really aggressive, state-backed comeback. And listen, this was a big deal. For the first time in almost a decade, Intel had a real, credible challenger to TSMC's tech leadership. They announced their highly anticipated 18A process was on track for mass production. That was the signal. A real fight at the cutting edge was about to kick off.
So how do these two new technologies actually stack up? Well, it's a fascinating battle of philosophies, really. On one side, you have TSMC's N2 process. They're leveraging their mastery of manufacturing to deliver just incredible transistor density, packing more and more power into a smaller and smaller space. But then you have Intel's 18A, and they're fighting back with raw speed and some really innovative architecture, like their new backside power delivery system. And here's the crucial part. Intel started landing major customers, which put some real pressure on TSMC's client base.
But wow, this comeback did not come cheap. To fund this moonshot, and to build out its foundry business, Intel just burned through cash. They posted a massive $18.8 billion net loss in 2024. It was a huge, high-risk, high-reward gamble to try and reclaim the throne.
And what's really interesting, what changes the whole game, really, is that Intel wasn't fighting alone. The US government was determined to bring advanced chip-making back to American soil, so they invested almost $9 billion from the CHIPS Act directly into the company. You see, this wasn't just a corporate rivalry anymore. It had become a matter of national strategy.
So you've got this perfect storm of threats hitting them all at once. What does TSMC do? Well, they didn't just sit back and play defense. No way. They launched a full-on, multi-pronged counteroffensive to protect their crown.
Their number one weapon? It's what it has always been, just relentless innovation. TSMC laid out this super clear, super aggressive roadmap. It wasn't just about the 2-nanometer N2 process ramping up in 2025. They had clear plans for even more advanced stuff, the A16 and 1.4 nanometer nodes. The message they were sending was simple: we are not slowing down for anyone.
And at the same time, they started to counter all that geopolitical pressure by going global. Remember those tariff threats, that earthquake? Well, this was the answer. Their Arizona fab finally started mass production, with even more advanced facilities being built. They broke ground on a second fab in Japan. This was all about diversification, a direct response to those risks, even while Taiwan remained the absolute heart of their R&D. But look, this battle isn't just about making smaller and smaller transistors. It's also about how you put them all together. With the absolute explosion in AI, this thing called advanced packaging, like TSMC's CoWoS tech, has become a huge deal, a critical bottleneck. So, by rapidly expanding its capacity in this area, TSMC is basically strengthening another key advantage, one that its competitors find really, really hard to match.
So you've got the earthquakes, the tariffs, the rival's big comeback. All these dramatic events of 2025 have perfectly set the stage for an even bigger, more consequential battle in 2026.
And that's because when you get right down to it, this isn't just TSMC versus Intel anymore. This fight has become a proxy war from much, much larger forces. We're talking about the future of AI, the security of our global supply chains, and yeah, the strategic competition between entire nations.
So all of this leaves us with some pretty big questions as we look ahead, right? Can TSMC's innovation machine really stay ahead of an Intel that now has the full backing of the US government? Are these new fabs in Arizona and Japan going to be enough to shield them from the political trade wars? And maybe the biggest question of all, how is the insane, relentless demand for AI chips going to completely reshape this battlefield?
Yeah, ultimately it all boils down to this one simple question. After everything that happened in 2025, the entire industry, the entire world, really, is watching and waiting to see if the king can defend its throne against the most powerful siege it has ever faced.
You know, maybe the best way to think about TSMC's strategy comes from Sun Tzu, who said, "Opportunities multiply as they are seized." And in the face of this crisis, TSMC didn't just build higher walls. By accelerating innovation and expanding across the globe, they proved that sometimes the best defense is to just boldly seize the future. And as we head into the battle for 2026, that is exactly what they plan to do.